Hello, my name is Paul Roath. I'm again going to be giving a summarization of the professor's syllabus for communications. In section 1, he discusses the evaluation process and that speeches are approximately 90% of the grade, whereas written text or written speeches are roughly 10% of the grade. In section 3, we find out that late speeches will not be graded, and he further explains how this grading process occurs. Specifically, every assignment is due prior to 6 a.m. on the day it is due, and then it must be emailed to him, and that if it is sent at, let's say, 6:01 a.m., it will not be graded. So punctuality is clearly very important. In section 4, we find that the speech times are better explained, and that speeches will adhere to the posted time limits, whether they be 4 or 5 minutes, depending on what the assignment requires. A penalty of 10 points will be incurred for every extra minute of speaking time during the event. No real mention of if things are underneath that time limit, how short, if there's any penalties like that, but it is clearly stated that speeches will adhere to the maximum time limit of whatever that assignment is, whether it be 4 or 5 minutes. Moving on to the next section, we find the speaking notes. That any formal notes, such as a written out speech that is just kind of read verbatim, will be docked 40 points, and that speeches with no notes will gain an additional 7 points for the speaker. We also have to make note, though, that plagiarism will be punished harshly by the instructor, as it should be, with a class failure and then possible school expulsion. Another point that the instructor makes is that if there are going to be notes used throughout the speech, that again, they cannot be formal, but informal notes can only have a key sentence to denote maybe that section or that paragraph that you're about to explain, and that any further subnotes must be just a single word or single phrase, cannot be anything longer than that. In section 6, we discover what the speech introduction is. So in these later assignments, when we get down into more complex speeches, the first thing he discusses with us is that speech introduction. And that's the components of the introduction, including the attention getter, relating the topic to the audience, how they can get something out of your speech or your presentation, and then also stating the thesis, what the following paragraphs or the following speech is going to be about. In section 7, we discover the components of the body of the speech. The first sentence or the first paragraph must be the topic sentence with subsequent paragraphs supporting that topic sentence. So we find that, again, we're kind of reiterating what the main focus of the speech is going to be about, and then we are going to use those subsequent paragraphs or subsequent points in the speech to further support or prove our thesis statement. In section 8, he again discusses the third paragraph or the follow-on paragraphs. Again, it's just supporting text or supporting documentation, proof of your point or what you're trying to get across to the group, and further explaining your thesis statement. Finally, in section 9, we find that we need to summarize our speech or what we are discussing or writing, and this is often commonly known as the concluding paragraph. You again restate your thesis and some of the key points that really will drive home the bulk of your speech or the main argument you're trying to make when making that speech. So that is a brief summarization of the key sections that were noted during the syllabus.